There are just 3 defendants, but there are 1,000 potential jurors and millions watching. We have just hit 100 degrees, happy 100 degrees here in Dallas, Texas, and it's only going to get warmer. Imagine building your dream home in this area, moving your family in, and then being told to evacuate, or betting your livelihood on a small business and not being sure if that business is going to survive. That's what the families here are dealing with. I want to show you the dozens of workers that are here that have been here since 5, 6 in the morning, and it seems like the second wave has just arrived. I'm wondering what it's like to walk into a state house where you are so vastly outnumbered in that way and try to fight for the community members that elected you to that position.
It's traumatizing.
I want to specifically show you what happened to this RV park, though. If you look behind me, you can see, trailer after trailer after trailer literally turned on its side or flipped completely over. The themes are exactly what you would expect: securing the border, inflation. There's a sign just over my left shoulder on that screen earlier that said Joe Biden owes Ohio gas money. Downtown Charlottesville, a photographer actually has commemorated moments from that weekend all throughout downtown. If you look behind me, there are pictures in every tree. Well, Lauren, just before I get to that, I told you I was going to find some food, didn't I?
Yes.
We've got plenty of options now, so we're all set here. Everyone else, all the other officials, have sort of been in lockstep in characterizing the criminality they believe they saw in this video. As you can see, this relatively busy intersection has been operating on a 4-way stop for the past 4 days. This makeshift memorial has been gathering people all throughout the day, but this is the busiest I've seen it since I've been here. I want to underscore those numbers you heard again: 97 homicides in 2019 and 190 in 2020, and that's the pace that we're still on in 2022. Right, well, funerals are always a somber occasion, but this one is different because there was anger here as well, and the message from Reverend Al Sharpton, Ben Crump, and the Locke family was simply that Amir Locke should still be here. For a couple hours, a couple times a month, you can find dozens of Dallas dads pushing, carrying, and sometimes chasing their kids, all in pursuit of finding a community.
2 little girls, man.
Daddy Stroller Social Club was the vision of Calvin Bridgewater, who says he wanted to give himself something his father never had.
Our dads didn't have this community, so growing up, they just went off of what they were taught.
The doggy bites me.
Yeah. The doggy bites you? You want daddy to kiss it? I mean, it's little stuff like that,
When Bridgewater's daughter was born, he says his wife didn't feel like herself.
Lady told her that, hey, I think you're experiencing postpartum depression.
Which helped him realize neither did he.
As she's giving these answers and as they ask these questions, I'm like, dang, I think I'm kind of going through the same thing.
Calvin says while his wife was crying a lot and didn't want to be touched, he gained 60 pounds and watched his health decline. Advice from their doula prompted Calvin to call some friends, more specifically dads like him. The stroller strides and the dads in them became a staple in Bridgewater's life. Finding a community of men with similar issues helped him turn his around.
Nice to meet you, man. You already signed in already over here? What drew me in was the brotherhood.
Melchizedek Tony has been doing stroller strides since 2021.
It just letting people know it's gonna be okay. Like, hey man, don't worry about that. Or you're going through that stage right now? Or that's nothing, man. Wait till you get to this stage right here.
Studies have shown despite stereotypes, resident black fathers tend to be more involved in childcare than their white or Latino counterparts. And even for those who don't live with their children, black fathers also shared responsibilities more frequently and displayed more effective co-parenting.
No, we everyday dads around here. Like, we wake up in the morning, put them to bed, put them to sleep.
Kind of grew up seeing your mom doing everything. You saw your dad going to work. Now it's like you seen your dad going to work. You seen your dad push these strollers. You seen your dad change these diapers.
Over the last year, the group has grown significantly, boasting 150 dads at its last stride, including Damani Anderson.
We drove an hour out, but I was like, hey, it's worth it. We trucking with these 2 baby girls.
Anderson, a family therapist, says this community is particularly important for fathers.
Society portrays us to be, we have to do things independently. We have to get through life on our own. We can't struggle. We can't have any issues. Having that community, having that place to be able to process, to be able to relate with like-minded individuals is very important.
When you look at how big this has gotten already, what do you hope comes next out of this?
I hope that we can kind of expand throughout the world.
But Bridgewater says he'll start with chapters in Houston and Atlanta for now.
Yeah, this is my shop. I started about 4.5 years ago. You can see I got a couple projects going on. Not as much as I used to.
Joe Samick opened a repair shop in his own garage in East Palestine, Ohio, 4 years ago.
Pays the bills and keeps the family afloat, and I got 2 kids, both under 2, and I'm not making as much as I used to and struggling to make ends meet.
But Samick's once full calendar has emptied out, leaving him and so many in East Palestine unsure about the future.
Yeah, I had appointments set up and customers called and they canceled, and they don't want to be here, which I don't blame them.
Samick Automotive Repairs, less than a mile from the Norfolk Southern train derailment that turned this small town into a disaster zone.
I could see it from my house. I gave our oldest a bath. She's 1.5 years. She ended up getting rashes all over her body. She was coughing, hard time breathing, and we just didn't feel safe, so we sent her back out, and they haven't been home since.
Samick, along with more than a dozen others, have filed suit against Norfolk Southern. Samick's class action lawsuit says the rail company acted with negligence, carelessness, and recklessness, and has reduced the value of their land.
Yeah, this lawsuit, it's to try to make things work, and they destroying our business, our homes. Our home value has decreased significantly since this all happened.
They listed their home about 11 days ago.
Megan Ritchie is a realtor in Northeast Ohio. She says since the accident, some families are concerned about their children.
This was their forever home. This is where they planned on being. They are moving because they have 2 small children that they're taking into consideration here, and they don't want to wait around to see what happened with that.
And the housing market right now is uncertain.
I think that it probably would have sold in a week.
After the derailment, more than 2,000 residents were ordered to evacuate during a controlled burn of chemicals released from damaged tank cars. Residents were allowed to return a couple days later after their air was deemed safe. But the owners of this home say they don't plan to come back.
After what happened on February 3rd, they took their kids into consideration. I think it was more or less, let's not take a chance and let's move forward and let's put the house on the market.
Jim Warren is from this area and has been working in real estate for 20 years.
So just like everybody in the country, they're all nervous, anxious, worried. We all are. This is a big thing. You don't see this every day. It doesn't affect your community every day.
Warren says despite the incident, this is still a desirable place for buyers, and it will take at least 6 months before anyone knows the real impact.
Real estate is a long game. If information comes out that there's an issue with the homes, that's where it would then really start to affect the market.
Norfolk Southern is under investigation by the EPA and NTSB and has been ordered to conduct continuous long-term air and water monitoring and remediate the area until it's safe. But Joe Samick says if his business doesn't survive, he may not stay long enough to find out.
Family makes me whole. Working and supporting the family, giving them the things they want and need, that makes me whole.
Fireworks on the 4th are as old as the country itself, and according to the American Pyrotechnics Association, there could be as many as 16,000 firework displays dazzling the skies this Independence Day. Roughly 6 months to get this thing going, and the show is how long?
24 minutes.
Is that odd?
No, it's not too odd.
That includes Chad Stanley's nationally recognized Kaboom Town fireworks show in Addison, Texas, just outside of Dallas. Stanley has been working on this show for more than a decade and says you can't focus on the length of the show.
It is one 24-minute show, but it's 24 minutes for every person that's watching that. So when you divvy that up, it's not a lot of work for a lot of people.
Arranging the show requires plenty of elbow grease. Stanley and his team individually place more than 4,000 shells in these fiberglass pipes. But make no mistake, despite the hands-on start, this show is a high-tech operation.
The database knows how long the E-match takes to fire, how long that shell takes to fire, how long it takes to get to the air and do whatever it needs to do before it blossoms.
Stanley says computer-operated firing is the industry standard now, and he knows why.
You get a lot of control from the computer firing the show that you don't get with the hand fire. It's not like when you're a kid, you don't light the fuse and run away. You stand there and you light the fuse, and then you light the one next to it that's, just a couple feet away. And that's a experience, to say the least.
Addison is expecting 500,000 people to come enjoy its July 4th extravaganza. The celebration includes a concert, air show, and dozens of vendors, but Stanley's fireworks are the main attraction.
For us, our favorite show is always the last one, and that just means the show went off without a hitch, and everybody got to see what they came for.
Jamal Andress, Scripps News, Addison, Texas.
Samantha writes, "It gets so hot in the dorms, the fan literally feels like a blow dryer is blowing hot air in my face."
Marcy Marie Simmons says she gets hundreds of letters from Texas prisoners scared of the extreme heat.
These folks that are dying because of the lack of climate control in Texas prisons didn't get sentenced to death.
Simmons, along with several advocacy groups, are suing the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for cruel and unusual punishment. Their lawsuit says Texas prisoners and guards are being cooked to death, and unair-conditioned inmate housing units caused or contributed to 14 deaths per year from 2001 to 2019. Simmons spent 10 years in those same prisons.
The water that came out of the sink was warm, but if you flushed the toilet several times, that water would get cold. And in the summer months, it was common practice for anyone in there to splash toilet water on our bodies or even onto the floor to sleep on that.
The TDCJ confirmed with Scripps News there are 14 units with no AC at all, 31 that are fully climate controlled, and 55 that have partial AC. Depending on the facility, the partial AC can mean cool respite areas, cafeterias, or cooling beds for inmates. While TDCJ has tried to get this lawsuit dismissed, the executive director testified in court installing AC system-wide is a key priority, but they don't have the money.
We spend millions of dollars trying to argue against being in compliance with what we mandate to the county jails.
Texas Representative Carl Sherman says with a $30 billion state surplus, money isn't the problem. Sherman has proposed a bill to mandate every Texas prison be kept between 65 and 85 degrees in the last 3 legislative sessions. He says he's never been given a vote on this in the Texas Senate. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has not publicly commented on calls for a special legislative session to address the heat in Texas prisons.
The most consistent argument and rebuttal that I hear is if you do the crime, you do the time. I know by law we have to have AC for our animal shelters. These aren't animals that we're talking about.
In the pig barn, there's climate control for the pigs that the Texas Department of Criminal Justice owns. And I remember going back into the dorm from working in this pig barn, feeling subhuman.
A federal judge in Austin is considering emergency relief for Texas inmates. During the injunction hearing, Simmons was the first witness to testify.
We need something immediate. People are dying today, so we need something to happen today.